morning everybody, good morning, it's JPR and welcome back to another video. Shiny Pokemon, who doesn't love them? Well, unless they're really lame, which is actually quite a few of them. Here are my picks for each region's best and worst shiny Pokemon. Although, please note, there are literally 1,000 Pokemon now, and no, that is not hyperbole. So if I leave a few out, don't crucify me. I could make this video 30 minutes long, but I really don't want to. So let's go. So I think I'd be a fool to not mention the iconic Black Charizard shiny, even though I did mention it last week. But beyond just being a sick shiny, it also gets you a lot of bang for your luck, since Charizard has 2 Mega Evolutions and the G-Max form, all of which have really cool looking shiny forms in their own right. Shiny Ninetales rocking the silver with dark blue highlights has also been a personal favorite of mine. It looks very majestic. On that note, Tentacool and Tentacruel have a rather simple change, going from red to green, but this palette is slicker than your high school gym's hardwood floors. This is one that I've been hunting for a long time. Similarly, I really like Voltorb and Electrode just changing from red to blue, or red to black in their Hisuian forms, referencing the heavy balls from that era. But my personal favorite Gen 1 shiny has to be Shiny Ponyta. Okay, not Gen 2 Shiny Ponyta, the real Shiny Ponyta. The Blue Flames are a simple change, but one that I absolutely love. I only wish Rapidash had the same treatment. Even if pretty much every person who has ever played Legends Arceus has one of these now, it still holds a special place in my heart. As for the worst, I'm sorry, but Nidoqueen has got to be up there. It's not even the colors that rub me the wrong way, although the booger green certainly isn't doing it any favors. It's more for me how this shiny breaks the family trend. All of the shiny male Nidoran evolutions have the female's blue colors, and all the females have the male's purple. Except Nidoqueen! This is not a happy little accident, as they say. This was someone actually just falling asleep at their desk. I'm also not a huge fan of Sunburnt Golduck, especially since Shiny Psyduck actually looks pretty neat. Shiny Farfetch'd is another dishonorable mention, just being one of those it's the original but slightly brighter types of shinies, which is pretty disappointing for a Pokemon this rare. For Johto, I'll go ahead and say it. My favorite shiny has to be Ho-Oh. The silver and gold color combo with the red highlights is extremely fitting and majestic for this Pokemon. There is literally no competition. But I'll still name a few other good ones from this gen. I suppose on the note of spectacular looking gold Pokemon, we have Fortress and Steelix. Fortress in particular really wowed me in Scarlet and Violet since it has an actual gold texture on it, similar to Magikarp. Steelix may not be in Gen 9 yet, but I'm willing to bet it will probably get the same treatment. Honestly, I would want Megas back just so we can see the absolute brilliance of a gold-textured Mega Steelix. Porygon 2 looking bluer than a Smurf over here, but I dig it, even if it really is just the same as Porygon. Gen 1 was getting kinda long though, so I figured I'd mention them both here. I'll throw Porygon Z in as well, this whole family looks awesome. Another fantastic blue shiny is definitely Umbreon. He has a very futuristic Tron-esque vibe to him. I think if you have a shiny Eevee, Umbreon or Sylveon are certainly the ones you'd want to have next. But blue isn't stopping there, because Yanma's blue and green goes together like cocaine and waffles. Not that I would know. As for the worst, this gen has several shinies that follow the far-fetched it's the same but slightly brighter motif, namely the Chikorita line, the Ladybot line, and the Togepi line. If being hardly different from the original is a misdemeanor, then being ugly is a full-on felony. I'm talking about Pokemon. Not you, viewer, you're beautiful. This may be an unpopular take, but I can't stand Shiny Crobat. Bright pink and snot green would look more fitting on an escaped convict than they do on a Pokemon like Crobat. And I promise I'm not a green hater, I actually quite like Shiny Espeon and Shiny Scizor, while most people don't. But this color does not look good on Ursaring or Stantler. It's at least gotta fit the design somewhat. Moving on to Hoenn, Shiny Camerupt is a big winner. Black and gold has never led anyone astray. And seeing as how volcanoes are up just as much black as they do red, this feels like a natural palette swap. And again, since it has a Mega, or had a Mega I should say, you do get a little extra bonus for having this one. On the topic of Megas though, Mega Sableye for sure. The gold and emerald colors give it more of a goblin feeling than the original, and plus trading its giant ruby for a giant emerald? Is there any other shiny that reps its games better than this? Well, maybe Ho-Oh, and it's a little ironic since Sableye is a Sapphire exclusive, but still, super cool looking. Another medal gets awarded to Duskull and Dusclops. The blood red color looks amazing on these two ghost Pokemon. And also, the entire Aeron line. The green parts of their bodies have a very oxidized metal look to them, and it's another case of a shiny that can Mega Evolve. And the red eyes make for a perfect contrast on the silver and green bodies. These are wonderful shinies. But it's hard to top the kingpin of Steel-type shinies. You already know who it is. Metagross. The silver and gold look so sharp on this entire line. This is another that I'm really looking forward to seeing in Gen 9, so I hope they make it into the DLC. But for the second straight gen, I'm giving the Best Shiny award to a legendary, Rayquaza. It's no wonder why this thing has been advertised across the anime, movies, conquest, you name it. It's definitely one of the most in-your-face shinies out there, and for good reason. It's slick. As for Hoenn's worst, I certainly would have said Combuskin in the past, but they've actually been gradually making it look better and better over time. Sword and Shield actually gifted it with a huge upgrade compared to the previous 3D games, so I'll take it off the list. Exploud is definitely one that I put here though. It's not really ugly or unnoticeable as much as it is just boring. Like, you can tell it looks different, but it's like the most basic change they could have possibly made. It doesn't excite me in any way. Regice is another stinker. Like, I get it, it's entirely made of ice, it's hard to change, but I think it could have been like a frosty, whitish color instead of almost exactly the same. And it really pains me to say this because I really like this Pokemon, a lot of people like this Pokemon, but I've never been hot on Shiny Flygon. I think it genuinely just looks worse than regular Flygon. And its pre-evolved shiny forms, Trapinch and Vibrava, look great! But this weird sky blue and orange combo really clashes with that classic Flygon green in my opinion. I would much rather just use regular Flygon. For Sinnoh, I'm gonna start off with Shiny Bronzor and Bronzong for the best. They remind me a lot of Aggron, who I just discussed. That oxidized dark green looks awesome on them. Spiritomb, on the other hand, goes completely off the wall, trading its green and purple scheme for a ghostly blue and purple, but I still dig it. It looks just as menacing as the original Spiritomb, and as a rarer Pokemon, this shiny has always had a perceived high value. Definitely one that I want to have at some point. But speaking of high value, I gotta mention Arceus. It's another simple change, just going from white to gold, but honestly, who wouldn't expect God himself to be bathed in a golden hue? I think this shiny gives us exactly what we'd all expect, but that's not a bad thing in this case. But for my personal favorite Gen 4 shiny, I gotta give it to Luxray and its pre-evolved forms. Trading the blue for a golden yellow color is a small change, but a remarkably effective one. Who doesn't love black and yellow? Okay, besides Ravens fans, maybe I'm a bit biased as a former Pittsburgher, but yeah, this shiny hits the nail on the head. Definitely Sinnoh's best. For Sinnoh's worst, I've never really liked shiny Darkrai. It just looks like they added a purple filter to him instead of actually recoloring him. Maybe that was the point, to make him look more ghostly and dreamlike, but to me it just comes off as kinda boring. But honestly, is there any competition for Garchomp? Yes, they have made it look a lot better over time. Like in Legends Arceus, you can actually tell it's shiny. It looks significantly darker. But the shiny sprites are just too bad to ignore. And what makes it worse is that Gible and Gabite have really cool looking shinies, and they just regress to this. It makes you not even want to evolve them if you have them, because you know that light at the end of the tunnel is actually a train coming to run over your hopes and dreams. For a Pokemon this cool, a shiny like this is beyond disappointing. Man, Gen 5, for a gen this big, there are surprisingly few good shinies here, but we'll still start positive. I used to not like shiny Crocodile that much, but it's grown on me lately. I thought the golden visor was a bit much, but it kinda reminds me of those big, goofy golden sunglasses that celebrities wear, which is actually rather fitting for the big bad bully Crocodile. He's also made out of chocolate, so that's neat. Silver Gang, I didn't forget about you guys though, because Golurk is another really cool one. I actually used the one from the Victini movie quite a lot in Gen 5 competitive, so I have some fond memories of this guy. For our second mythical Pokemon though, Genesect has to be mentioned. Red on gray is always a cool look, what more can I say? The Genesect movie may have been a complete waste of an hour and a half, but at least I can say I saw a cool looking Genesect. Probably still not worth it, but whatever. But who is Gen 5's best shiny? Do I even need to say it? Of course, it's Haxorus. I'm not even mad this guy was given away in Black 2 and White 2's postgame. This shiny is so raw it would make Gordon Ramsay scream. But now we gotta cover the worst, and as I previously alluded to, Unova has a very disappointing amount of shiny Pokemon that are just very slight hue changes. I think the most disappointing of them all though has to be Vanillux. As an ice cream Pokemon, I was hoping for something a little more colorful or creative. This looks almost exactly the same. For some reason, it's less saturated than Vanillite and Vanillish, who don't look half bad. I just feel like they dropped the ball on this one. But again, at least it's not ugly. That unfortunate dishonor goes to Scrafty. The bright green and orange and gold makes this guy look more like a clown than a brooding gangster. And this one is just silly, I'm not a fan. Now, to catch a shiny Pokemon, you have to be extremely lucky, but a lot of people aren't so lucky because they're dealing with heart disease, which is why I've teamed up with the American Heart Association for the month of February to help people in need. If you donate just a few dollars to the cause, it would make a world of difference in somebody's life. Be sure to check out the big blue donate button down below. But man, I'll say, Gen 6 is probably the most stacked generation when it comes to great looking shinies. Right off the bat, we have Greninja, an instant classic. The black is very fitting for a ninja, it's perfect. Same goes for Aegislash. The combination of black, gold, and blood red makes this guy look extremely regal. This is a popular one for good reason. The solid gold Hoopas also look great, and it matches their lore about opening portals to steal treasure. Red and white Trevenant is extremely creepy looking, but like Spiritomb, absolutely perfect. I already mentioned Sylveon earlier too, I could go on and on, but surprisingly, my favorite Kalos shiny would have to be Slurpuff. This is the fun, creative thing I was hoping Vanillix would be. They pulled it off great here, it looks like a full-blown sundae. But as great as Kalos' shinies are, there are inevitably a few stinkers. We have yet another sunburnt shiny, probably the worst ones yet, Helioptile and Heliolisk. These two genuinely look painful to me. For the love of God, please go inside and put some aloe on. You are actually making my skin crawl. But for the worst of the worst, I'm giving that to Volcanion. The gold and pink and cyan just don't mix well here, and it feels even more underwhelming looking at it next to Hoopa, an actual good-looking gold shiny. This guy looks like a toy you'd see in a daycare. It's obnoxiously bright and mismatched. Don't care for this one in the slightest. For Gen 7, I actually really like Shiny Toucan. This is probably my favorite shiny regional bird. It keeps that same tropical look to it, but with a twist. But the birds don't stop there, because I think Oricorio has not one, but two very underrated shiny forms. The Bile style and the Sensu style both look great. I feel like the monochrome Mimikyu is also very slept on. It feels like a cool throwback, but also remarkably ghostly at the same time. Also, Shiny Fomantis. I actually wish this was the base coloration. There's just a lot of satisfying shades of green being tied together here, fitting for a grass type. But for my favorite shinies from this region, I think I'm gonna have to call it a tie between Araquanid and Palossand. Araquanid just looks like a super cool sci-fi character, almost Darth Vader-like, very mean and villainous looking. As for Palossand, its shiny is actually a direct reference to some of the black sand beaches found in Hawaii, one of which actually does appear in-game on Ula Ula Island. So anything that uses real-life lore gets bonus points from me. The gold shovel is the metaphorical cherry on top. This is just a fun shiny, I really like it. As for the worst, Oricorio, again. Specifically the pom-pom style. It just looks really washed out, and I'm not a fan of washed out shinies. Also, Kamala. I'm not a fan of shinies where the held object changes instead of the actual Pokemon. It's just not that interesting to me. This actually spawned a theory that the log was the Pokemon and Kamala was just attached to it, which, no, I'm pretty sure that would mean that the thing holding the log would also have to be a Pokemon. But yeah, the actual worst here has to be the Jangmo-O line. They are marginally better looking than Volcanion. The pink on gold will never be a good look. Please stop trying. For Gen 8, once again, I'm giving my props to the food-themed shinies. I love the Applin family. Once again, very predictable, but honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. They're green apples, it just works. Shiny Phalanx is another banger. The bronze armor makes it look all the more noble in my opinion. And if you watched the video about shiny Pokemon Value a couple years ago, you would know that I have a personal connection to this one. I literally got it in one egg and made all of my friends hate me for a day, which honestly, worth it.
Graham, give me your Phalanx card. Hey, wait, can you show it to us again?
First egg, everybody. Woo! Look at that, I am the Phalanx god! But this region's best shiny, probably not who you'd expect me to go with, Cramorant. Apparently, it was inspired by multiple UK news stories of seagulls flying into curry sauce and turning orange, which is so goofily on brand for Cramorant, how could you not love that? As for the worst, I will admit, as someone who wasted countless hours of my life hunting for it, Shiny Regieleki was honestly a bit underwhelming in its white t-shirt. I know it's made of electricity, so like Regice, they probably felt a bit limited in what they could change, but like, why not that cool looking blue Emperor Palpatine electricity? That could have worked. Also, Kubfu and Urshifu, please stop making sunburned shiny Pokemon. They hardly look any different at all, and it's just lame. But for Galar's worst of the worst, I'm going with Yamper and Boltund, because they combine two of my cardinal sins. Slight hue changes that are barely noticeable, and they look way uglier. Most of the time you can't do both, but somehow they do. And finally, Paldea. My first shout-out goes to Bellibolt, whose yellow makes it look a lot more in line as an electric type, sorta like Luxray. Tadbulb is certainly an obnoxiously hard to find shiny, but Bellibolt makes your pain and suffering somewhat worth it. Titan is another lovely shiny. I don't think I've even mentioned the color orange in this entire video until now, but the black and orange combo actually just looks so sick on this Pokemon. Klawf definitely gets a mention here. The frosty blue with the white fur has this neat wintry look to it. Also, King Gambit, since I didn't mention Pawniard and Bisharp earlier, a very royal-looking shiny. I also quite enjoy Rellor, just because it's rolling a literal ball of gold. This is another where the texture certainly carries it. But for the best of the best, I've got to cop out and give it to another legendary. Because shiny Koraidon is cooler than the other side of my pillow. Is it just another edgy black shiny? Yes. Inject it into my veins. Paldea's bad shinies are basically just bad because it feels like they didn't try at all. Paldean Tauros, Mousehold, Goldengo, Flamigo, almost all of the Violet Paradox Pokemon, but for the third time, I'm giving it to another pseudo-legendary, Baxcalibur. For once again being a very minor hue change, and one that looks worse at that. I certainly wanted to give it to Goldengo for possibly having the least noticeable shiny change of all time. The little lines just turned to red, but hey, I guess his whole gimmick is being made of gold, so I can't be too hard on him, I suppose. But for now, that's gonna wrap it up. Shout out to the Legend of King Indigo for becoming my newest channel member and all of these other wonderful people who support me. And thank you for watching till the end, leaving a like and subscribing if you haven't already. I'll see you guys next time.